Oh, it's your lucky day because Giant Bomb is back for day 2 of E3 2016. I'm your host, Jeff Gersman. Before we get into guests and more guests, I'm joined by some members of GiantBomb.com, including Jason A. Striker. How's it going?
Hey, really good.
Hi.
Yeah, I'm hyped, man.
Yeah.
Fucking hyped. I'm so excited to be here. I've had like 15 Red Bulls.
Okay, good. Yeah, that's
So I'm upright. I don't know if I'm really here, but
that's fine.
I feel here.
As long as you feel here, you're here. Alex Navarro is here.
Hey.
Hello.
Hi.
How's it going?
Good.
Yes.
Great.
Awesome.
Great. Brad Shoemaker's here as well.
I would describe my hype level as moderate.
Moderate hype.
Moderate to severe.
No, not
Just
Okay.
a mid-zone.
medium, a good
Find
medium.
your
Nice.
hype face on this
Good
chart
solid,
here.
good solid medium.
Oh, yeah. We are here. The day 2 of the show is over. Day 3 is tomorrow. But let's talk about what we saw today. We got Dan and Austin out in the field still, actually, checking out games.
Oh, they're seeing stuff?
Yeah.
That's
well,
why they are.
They'll be back soon, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Dan's on his
sounds
way
like.
back, but it sounds like Austin was seeing Detroit. Is that?
Yes,
I believe
yes,
so.
He took a late Detroit.
Yeah. He's taking a red eye out to Detroit just to check the scene, see what's up. Eminem,
They're
Ford.
rebuilding the economy out there. with
Yeah.
Game
RoboCop.
development, yeah.
Yeah, for sure.
RoboCop's developing games now.
Yeah, his first game's called Drop It. It's a puzzle game. It's like a match 3 thing. It's
a hacking maneuver.
It's pretty big. It's pretty big. Oh well, so we did see some video games today. Brad, how did it go out there? What's
All
the
right.
word?
Saw a few things. Took a few meetings.
Yeah, like what?
Shook some hands. Alex and I went to see Tacoma this morning.
We sure
Yeah.
did.
At the Microsoft booth.
What's up with that? That's all. It's all different now.
Fully reimagined the
Really?
gameplay experience is what the meeting said. They have.
So it's a competitive.
They have
hero
yes.
shooter.
Yep. Zero G, low G, Instagib
Okay,
Class-based and
on a space station
that sounds awesome.
Lanes.
with the shock rifle.
Okay, great. Yes.
how was their jungle?
Yeah, I went to play that game last August when they brought it around, and they have like completely ripped it apart and rebuilt it since then.
Okay, and pushed it back a little bit. In the
Yeah, it's
process.
now a 2017 game. Like
Yeah.
they actually redesigned the entire space station.
Okay.
Because before the whole thing was 0G, and it was a lot of like, oh, you got magnet boots, and now the floor is the ceiling and stuff like that. You know, you're going from surface to surface.
Right.
Now it's like a big spinning 2001 style space station because they wanted there to be parts with gravity where it
Neat.
seemed like people would actually live.
Yeah.
But there's also like a 0G kind of spindle in the middle, so there'll still be some of that stuff. They basically said the original version of the game was just Gone Home in space. Like it was, you know how Gone Home was 100% linear?
Yeah.
It was like you found the audio log they wanted you to find first, which would lead you to the audio or the diary, the second one, and then you'd find the key. Like they had that. That's what they had, and they didn't want that again. Mm-hmm. So now it sounds
That seems sensible. Yes. Yes.
and they said it's not linear now, right? Like there are wings of the there are wings of the space station, so you can actually kind of explore any part of the space station
They don't
kind
use
of
rockets?
at your leisure,
Like
maybe.
jet?
Maybe
They have wings?
Maybe
Oh,
there's
no.
some-
Like branching. Never mind.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, so like they weren't extremely specific about that stuff, but the idea was that you should be able to explore at your own pace. And a big part of that is this AR sort of log system on the station. So a lot of the sort of like narrative archaeology you're doing in that game is piecing together these logs from the 6 crew members that were on the station that I guess have disappeared. Is that the idea?
It seems like they're gone.
Like they were supposed to
Something
evacuate, but they didn't evacuate the way they were supposed to, or something.
something happened.
Okay.
Something happened.
Something happened.
And the AI on the system on the station is corrupt. Not in like the very HAL 9000 evil, like he's doing menacing things way, but he's just not helping.
Yeah, like they straight up mentioned HAL and Shodan and stuff, and they were
Yeah.
like, yeah, we get it, like evil AI is a thing, and like we're trying not to just do another one of those.
Yeah. But so the idea is, you're watching these log things take place, and it's like it's outlines of the character. So like every person who's on the station has their like kind of form sort of scanned into the system, and the system tracks them throughout the station, and it creates these sort of like holograms that are like representations of the people, but they're not like realistic.
Like they don't have faces;
right.
they're just sort of amorphous, colored blobs. Like
That sounds kind of like the echoes in The Division.
A little bit.
yeah,
A little bit.
And each character has a color assigned to them, so you can easily tell who's who.
Yes.
Oh.
Like the idea is just that the AI is recording everyone's like motion and voice data like 24/7.
Yeah.
And so you're finding little bits and pieces of data you can reconstruct to kind of
Yeah.
watch these scenes play out. But
Okay.
the big difference is that like when I played it last year, like sure enough, just like he was saying, like you would find a text message or like a security log or whatever that's took the place of like the diary pages or whatever. But
Yeah.
but still those were tied to specific places in the environment, like wherever the designer put them.
Right, and you would go and then
and you
you'd
just find it where it
Street
was.
Fighter 2 and
Yes,
on a
exactly.
space
Yep.
station, and
you like be misinformed as to how to perform a dive kick
head
or
stomp.
whatever. Yes, the head stomp.
Yeah.
Anyway, now the AR conversations are much bigger and span multiple rooms. It's like people come and go. There are multiple conversations happening at the same time.
Mm-hmm.
So you've straight up got VCR controls now on these big AR scenes.
Okay.
Where
Oh, I
they're
see.
like they can be like 3 or 4 minutes long, and you can like fast forward and rewind. You can go in different rooms to hear what different people are saying and see
And-
what they were doing. So it's like non-linearly sort of just absorbing the story in whatever order you encounter it in a more
Right.
like kind of through osmosis.
And the thing
Okay.
they kind of emphasized was that there really isn't like a critical path necessarily. Like there are things you need to find out in order to get to the end of the mission, but like there's nothing in those logs that like if you miss it, you're fucked. Like you can piece together the pieces you want out of that, and ideally, lots of people will probably just try to get everything.
Right.
But if you just kind of want to move through stuff and explore more, and don't want to sit there and watch every piece of a conversation, you don't have to.
You can kind of just see it until
You
you,
can
are
get the
satisfied.
gist if you want. Yeah, exactly. When you know that you are satisfied, you
Right.
can move on.
Okay. All right.
Yeah. It seems like they really stepped back and looked at what they had and like didn't want to just make the same game again, and that's cool.
That seems like a good call.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because looking at it, it was like, okay, well, this seems like it'll probably be Gone Home in Space,
Yeah.
and that. And then at that point, like the space part of it doesn't matter that much.
Right.
It's
Yep.
like, well,
Right.
will this story resonate? Yes, no, is the thing that matters. Like the particulars of walking around and Gone Home, like not to say the art was bad or something like that, but
Right.
that whole thing hung on the story. So that seems like a waste of a perfectly good space station.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. It looked super promising.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah.
All right, Alex, you made your way around a bit.
I did. The other big one that Brad and I saw today was the God of War demo.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that was our last
Understood this.
presentation of the day.
I'm super bummed that Austin is not here to talk about the presentation they gave because I was
Yes.
not sold on aspects of this game. It was Corey Barlog was there. He's running this thing, which I
Yeah.
didn't realize.
Yeah.
Given a big pitch for like their vision for this thing, and like I totally bought it. Like, but they got a lot into the. So, it's a sequel.
Okay.
Like,
It's like
we
a
didn't-
direct,
It is
like this
Kratos.
It is
the
Yes,
Kratos.
So yes, that was
Canonical
the-
Kratos.
the big-
Canonical with a K, Kratos
Yes,
with a K.
yes. The
Yes.
big-
Spartan Rage with a K.
Yeah, the big
three
data
Ks.
point.
Yeah.
Yep. Yeah, the big data point here is like, yes, this is the same character. This is some time after God of War 3. He moved to Norway.
like a lot of time.
So that's the thing. They pointed out, like, yeah, he's like half god. He's immortal. So
Sure, but he's
Yeah.
like he's great, right?
right. So
He's-
but they
he's visibly
implied
aged.
that some significant amount of time may have passed since the last game.
All right.
But they were
And-
purposely ambiguous about that.
Okay.
Yeah. But like their big abstract pitch for like how you move from Greek to Norse is like he gave a really eloquent sort of framework for all this, which is that kind of every culture's mythology is sort of equally valid and all taking place at the same time.
Right.
Exists in parallel.
Right,
Yeah,
like
yeah.
kind of parallel mythologies. I kind of basically the way he was describing it is effectively like they're all sort of telling the same story or come from
Yep.
the same place.
Yeah.
And just get there in different ways,
Yeah.
So that's kind of how.
Also,
how-
Kratos just fucking killed everyone. So
Also,
Yeah.
yes. Also, there's nobody
Yeah.
left alive in Greece. So
Greece
yeah,
is decimated at this
go
point.
find somewhere
So
else
what's
to
left
go.
for him to do? So he's moved on to the Norse lands, and though they're kind of ambiguous about the time, the thing that he framed was like. Very much of the Viking mythology was that the gods had abandoned them, that they fought for the gods, but at the same time the gods were not there anymore, and so the hope
Almost like
was
someone killed them all.
well, yeah, and so the hope was that they would come back one day, but but that was Viking times. This is in a way, I guess, pre-Viking times.
Yeah. This
Okay.
is pre-Viking.
So there are people there, but not a great many, and
Uh-huh.
they sort of exist in tandem with the various creatures of that time. Like trolls were the kind of the big, like that big one that you saw in the
Right.
demo.
Okay.
And like the littler enemies are resurrected warriors that neither went to Valhalla nor Hell.
They're straight up Vroggers from Skyrim, like he used that
Yeah.
word.
Yeah.
Okay. I mean, not that Skyrim invented that idea or something, but
And so, if you thought this was going to be a game about the nature of fatherhood and potentially shitty fatherhood, you were 100% correct, because that is the theme that he hammered home a whole bunch during that demo. the idea is that Kratos is sort of trying to get his shit together.
I just got to get out of town, get my fucking head together, man. It's just
Got to go dry out for a little bit.
Yep.
This town is used up, man. This town scene is beat. We got to get out of here.
The thing he straight up said was that the nature of Kratos was maybe a little one note, especially after a certain point.
Dude, it was fucking crazy. I was sitting there listening to him as if he had just heard like one of your rants about Kratos being a fucking boring, angry character because he literally described it as one note.
Yep.
Like he straight up said like, yeah, we may have put our foot a little too hard on that pedal and just left it there for that entire series.
Clicked on the cruise control and just wrote it out.
Yeah, and so they're trying to pull back and like make him a real character and not just a dude who wants to fuck shit up constantly.
Like the word character, the term character development came up like several times, and in a demo for God of War that could not have sounded crazier, but like the way they were framed, like the demo we saw was the one from the press conference.
Yeah.
Okay.
But they spent a little more time kind of going through the environments, kind of showing off a little bit more of the exploration elements of it, and kind of just like he would just take pauses to just sort of explain like what they were thinking when they were doing, like changing the perspective, you know, focusing on the story stuff, and
the way the combat works, all that.
yeah,
stuff.
and like they really hammered home. It's like the whole thing with Kratos in this is that he is trying to get his anger in order. Like he is trying to be like regain some of the humanity he had all but abandoned like when the first game started.
All right.
And that like having his son there is sort of like him trying to balance that seething rage inside of him and also like trying to be a person.
Mm-hmm. All right. I feel like wasn't that part of the story from the original franchise? Like by the time they had 2 or 3, wasn't there something like, oh well, I got my family together. Oh wait, they all died.
Yeah, he had a family,
and
right?
now
He had a family.
like now I'm angry all over again.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
So yeah, we don't know exactly what's going on here. Like I said, is the mother out of the picture here? And he said that's like he wouldn't answer it, but
That
he
is
said
an
that's
aspect of the
he said,
story,
He said
but
that's
that's
a major
shall
aspect of the
see.
story.
That
Yeah.
makes sense.
I'm kind of hoping for a little bait and switch. Like he's a terrible father to his son, and you're training him, you're raising him, and he becomes the next God of War.
Well, so here's
So
the
son of God of War.
Yeah.
Here's the interesting thing about that is that the kid is actually a commandable character.
Yeah.
Yeah, I thought I saw someone saying that there is literally a sun button.
Yep. Square is the sun button.
So basically what you can do with him is that you can point, basically all you have to do is point your target at whatever you want him to focus on, and he can simultaneously, he can do some damage on like weaker enemies, but he can also distract bigger ones by like, firing arrows at them. And so
Right.
if you have a bunch of dudes on screen and you want to kind of, separate out the groups a little bit so that they're not all coming straight at you, like all you got to do is just figure out like what strategy do you want and just have him focus on that.
Can you pick him up and use him as a shield?
That was not in the demo that we saw.
Throw him onto the back of a big guy and just say, like, just dig in there, get
Yeah.
it.
Yeah, maybe.
And I mean, the other difference is that, from what I remember of the earlier God of War games, is that his original family is when he was still kind of a human. Like there wasn't like that demigod aspect of it. Whereas this kid is post him becoming a demigod, and so this kid is also a demigod.
Oh.
Yeah.
Family died before the first one.
Yes.
He's
Yeah,
a
and then that's why he's all
That was what
white
set
and
him
the
on the
rashes
revenge
and stuff,
bender, yeah.
The prequels, they were alive, like in the PSP ones and
okay,
everything.
that's
and there was the thing where you had to hug them and then like crush them and their orbs would come out or whatever, or like the Elysium Fields, like that was
All
a big
that
moment
stuff.
in the prequels.
This is like as divorced from all that stuff as it could possibly be in tone, mechanically, like everything about it.
This is good.
Feels
Good.
different.
Yeah.
Witness protection, Kratos, it looks like. New life.
Like I don't know what like Ascension sold, but it's really like heartening to see them take on this different direction.
Yeah.
You know?
I mean,
Yeah,
he
he gave
Because
a
I'm sure
really
they could
good
have put up
presentation.
another
He
God
did.
of War
Like-
and
And
make
he
a shit
just,
ton of money. But
right up at the front, he was like, we didn't want to be precious about this stuff. Like the whole purpose of me coming back and doing this was I really wanted to tear this thing apart. I wanted to, put all of the pieces on the table and be like, what's important? What can we do differently? How do we rework this?
I'm so excited.
Who's the lead on that one?
It's Corey.
It's Corey.
Oh, it's
Barlow.
Corey again?
Yep.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, it was
He was
funny
the
because
best one.
he left games for a while. He went off and worked with George Miller and some stuff.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
he came back saying like, it's like I think maybe my storytelling chops improved a little bit through that experience. And
Yeah.
I'm ready to bring that back here. And he talked about like it was kind of a really personal pitch for this thing because like he was talking like his wife is Swedish and they have a small child.
Is that child a demigod?
Probably.
Okay.
Is it a semi-demigod?
It seems like maybe like a fourth, I think.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
But he's saying like his son is learning Swedish from his wife, and his son at like whatever age he is
Like
already
3 or whatever,
already
yeah.
speaks more Swedish than he does, and that the relationship in this game is exactly the same because Kratos became like a wanderer after all the shit went down. You know, he kind of walked the earth and ended up in Norway, but his son was born and raised there. So like his son is a native of this land in a way that he can never be.
Yeah, yeah.
So he's a little fish out of water where the son has some kind of inherent connection to this place that he doesn't. Like that's kind of the dynamic there.
We should also emphasize it's not necessarily exactly Norway. It's just like it's a very general Scandinavian region.
Okay,
yeah.
that was kind of I meant that like slightly flippantly.
Yeah.
But you know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah. Okay.
The only other thing I'll say, I don't know if you have anything to add, but like I super appreciate when a guy like that will just give straight answers.
Yes.
Even answers that will probably make the PR like cringe a little bit.
We've seen like a mishmash of like different games. I think like shown at this. Did he cite anything?
Yeah, that's the thing. So he said it's not open world, but he said it's way more open, but not open world, and I didn't quite know what to take from that because so this demo they had more UI turned on I think than they did at the press conference because like there was a point where his like trapping skill leveled up. Like there are different types of experience points you're getting and stuff. So I was like, well, that seems like something you would have in an open world game.
Right.
He said the recent Tomb Raiders are a good reference point.
Okay. Yeah.
For what
Those are open games.
Those are
but
open.
not-
There's
open,
a linear structure.
They're open,
like,
but still linear. Yeah.
you can
like,
go around and do stuff in those areas.
And he said this was probably even more open than those, but that's a good,
framework.
a good kind of reference point for that.
What about combat?
I mean, it's obviously it's not the chain blades anymore. He's got that axe.
Yeah, the axe seems like the centerpiece.
Yeah, so there is a combo system, but it's not like the chain combos like before. It's
Swirling blades.
Yeah, so the main thing about the axe is that you can throw it and then you can bring it back to you.
Is it like horsepower that brings it back?
Kind of,
kinda.
whatever. I mean, it's demigod power.
It's a magic
whatever
axe,
it is.
you know.
Yeah, and
He kills Thor, and he gets that ability.
so
okay.
the joke he made was that with the way that works, basically you could throw that thing down at some point, get halfway through the game, and then call it back, and it will appear again.
No way.
Now you probably don't want to do
No,
that because you probably won't be as easy to kill enemies that way. And also the programmers, he said, would hate it. But yeah, so the notion is that thing is kind of a free-form thing that you can move around and use for combos, but also just like use it to pin enemies away while you do other stuff.
Sounds great.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like it sounds really dynamic.
And like the thing I hadn't noticed, I didn't see this in the press conference, but like when you're fighting that giant troll, every time you hack away at his legs, like new decals of damage start
Battle
appearing on
damage.
him. Yeah, and it's all like pretty real time.
Like pretty much like 1-to-1 with where the axe would impact on the creature,
Really?
where
Yeah,
this wound
that's
would
cool.
appear. It looked really nice.
Yeah,
was
it
well
did.
done.
That sounds neat.
Yeah.
Yeah, that game looks really promising.
Yeah, I felt good about that one.
Cool.
And then I saw a couple of other little smaller things floating around. Trying to remember what it was. I saw. So I played the We Happy Few demo.
cool.
That is exactly what they showed at the press conference.
Okay.
The thing you can do in that is you can kind of move around the environments a little bit more and just kind of like look at stuff and do things. But it's the same idea.
Did you not get past that part? Because I heard what that game actually is, like a procedural survival-ish
It
game.
is, and that's the thing is that they don't like once those cops show up and you fall down those stairs, like that's kind of where the demo ends.
Okay, and then presumably where the survival stuff starts.
Yeah, it seems like it. So.
Okay.
So I don't really know, and nor do I really understand how all that structure stuff is going to work. But the notion I have is that there will be specific story beats that fall in there, depending on how you do. But the idea is you're trying to survive in this world where, like, you don't want to take these,
You do not want to
Liminex
dunk the
pills.
drug.
Yeah, you don't want joy anymore.
Yeah.
And everyone
I
in the-
don't.
And everyone in the world is going to be against you to some degree. And I don't know to what extent that kind of spreads out, but
Right.
the main thing about that game is it's got a look, like
Yeah.
it's got a style to
Yeah.
it, and I am fascinated with it.
I thought it looked great at the press conference.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I hope that the actual progression of that thing lives up to it. The developer that made that is the same developer that made Contrast, which is another game.
Oh, yeah.
A game that I
Okay.
liked very much in theory,
Also
but
has a good look.
I thought was
Yeah.
okay in practice.
Yep.
That's
That
how I
was
would
a
describe
launch
it.
PS Plus game, right?
It
that
was.
free
Yes.
game. Yeah.
Yeah. So we'll see how that one shakes out. The other one I played was Bound, the sort of dance heavy sort of like not exactly platformer, but like kind of third person, like jumping, moving, like very movement heavy kind of game.
Yeah.
That thing. It's a very short demo that they're showing. I didn't see the VR version of it. There's a VR version,
Yep.
but I played just the regular version. But man, just the movement in that game is kind of awesome.
Real fluid.
Like real fluid, simple mechanics. Like it's like there's a button to dance. There's like an avoidance move.
I will push the dance button.
Yeah, you can kind of run and jump, and that's pretty much it, or at least from what I saw in the demo. And you know, it has a very abstract sensibility, like outside of like these like little memory sequences that seem to sort of like be the interstitial between levels. There are no faces in the game, so anything that's expressed is just done through like character movement.
All right.
And yeah, I don't know, like that, like again, it was a very short demo, so I don't know how it progresses over time, but like it makes a real good first impression.
Cool.
Yeah.
Cool.
I'll keep an eye out.
Yeah.
We went and saw Warner Brothers Interactive Entertainment today.
Yeah.
And took a look at their lineup. I played Batman Arkham VR, or what they're showing of it.
Yes.
Which
Yeah, it's like hearing there's more than what's in there is kind of shocking.
Well, yeah, it's
thought it
they
was just
describe it as a VR experience,
Yeah.
and you're like, okay, is this thing just going to kind of be a tech demo or something like that? But that will be a connected narrative experience when it's done.
Okay.
I don't, the way they call it a VR experience still doesn't make me think it would be especially long.
Right.
And the way they're kind of handling movement and stuff like that, like it's not going to. I don't know how dynamic or action packed it'll be, but
Is there combat at all?
not in this.
Okay.
They were showing.
You were able to like throw a batarang at some point,
Yep.
though.
Yeah. So they were showing two separate demos. One was like be the Batman, and another one was like a detective mode style thing.
Like
And-
essentially what we saw in like the previous games of like, you're kind of scanning the area, rewinding,
Yeah.
CSI Batman.
Basically, yeah. And so that thing started out with like, you're sitting at a piano and Alfred comes up and, tells you stuff. You kind of have to, I wasn't really sure what to do for a little bit. He hands you a key, you stick it in the piano, and then I picked up a phone and listened to two messages from, I get to hold the phone up to your ear and listen to Vicky Vale say that she wanted to hang out or whatever it was. And then eventually the phone rings and you turn the key on the piano, play some keys, and you drop down to the Batcave and suit up.
Very slowly.
This whole thing was very slow and not especially interactive in a way that was.
You made your own fun though. You kept picking up pictures and like just throwing them
there were
around the room.
items, it's like you pick up a picture of you with your parents at a very young age and throw it at Alfred and, just kind of flip stuff around. And so I was doing that and making my own fun.
Yes.
Because, it was just very slow.
Yep.
And, you descend into the Batcave and then it becomes like, okay, stick your hands in these things and then it'll come out and there will be gloves. And then the cowl shows up and you grab it and you use the move controllers to grab it and
The cowl's
move
like
it to your head.
shaking.
Yeah, and the
Now you're the
tracking's a
Batman.
little shaky and then you put it on and it just seemed like this, like the whole
You
thing
look
looked.
at yourself in the mirror. And
Yeah,
you
you look yourself in
kinda-
the mirror. It's like I'm the Batman.
Yep,
and
here I
it
am.
was a little blurry. But yeah, so they're giving you gadgets. So basically, you're represented. Your form is represented by two hands that are not attached to arms. So Rayman hands. And then if you look down, you see a utility belt at your waist, kind of just a front thing, and then
floating?
As you no, there's no clothing. There's a belt floating.
Yeah, like floating.
Yes, sorry,
yeah.
yes, floating belt.
So is that intended as like UI of a sort?
Yes,
Like
yeah,
that's where
because you look
grab-
down and that's where the batarang is mounted to the front of the belt.
So is this trespasser? Look down to see your shit.
The forensic scanner is at your left side. Maybe you could put that on either side. In my case, it was the left side, and then there was a grapnel gun that was at my right, and. Yeah, so basically, from that point, it's your hands are interacting with objects. In the second demo, you're kind of looking around. If you see a little bat symbol, you can push the move button to teleport there, and it's just an immediate snap. It's not like Batman's going to jump over there. It's just you teleport around this environment. You can kind of grab the grappling hook and shoot it around if you want. There wasn't really much to grapple to in the demo. But really, it was just like use the forensic scanner was the thing you did in the second demo, where you just see Nightwing dead,
which is fucked.
which is like
Wow.
a little crazy.
Yeah.
But anyway, you equip that scanner, and then it becomes like I've got to figure out. There's a lot of just Batman talking to Batman. I've got to figure out why he's dead. He's got a lot of injuries. I'll figure out where the injuries happen. And so you are turning the forensic scanner, like a ring of UI appears around it to pause, jog, shuttle kind of thing. So you're rewinding this footage of him fighting with an unknown assailant to figure out when his jaw got broken. And then when you get to that point in the footage, you pull the trigger, and it says, his jaw's broken. And then you rewind it some more, fast forward, and it's like,
World's greatest detective.
His ribs are crazy. Why did he die? And then, you teleport to another spot and see a witness and go, I got to figure out who this is. And you see him kind of, you basically, you jog you rewind the footage until you see him put his hand on the wall and then click the trigger, and it's like, you're scanning his fingerprints, and then you know who he is. And then that's the demo.
Does it look like that same like Unreal Arkham art style? Like, does it look like those games?
Yeah, more or less.
But
Yeah.
a little fuzzier.
Yeah, but fuzzier. Yeah, the whole thing was a little.
But it still had that tone, kind of the color scheme and everything, like those
the-
assets,
the-
essentially.
The environment, just the overall look of it, it was blurry in a way that a lot of PlayStation VR games are not.
Oh, wow.
Like it looked like I've seen plenty of fidelity wearing PlayStation VR.
Yeah.
This thing seemed early.
Is this PSVR only?
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, it's called Arkham VR, so I'm guessing absolutely. And also,
No, what I mean, it's not going to be on PC headsets.
I don't know. I think they've only announced it for PS4, but I can't say for sure.
Yeah.
It looks like it's move controller only because of just the whole thing is you moving your hands.
Right.
Right.
And so, like, I took it off, and they were like, "What do you think?" And I was like, "What is this?"
Exactly. I'm not kidding. So
Maybe not the response they were looking for.
Because, like, I was like, "Is that going to be the thing? Is this going to?" Because when they say it's a VR experience, you're just like, is this what you're putting out? And is this going to be some demo that comes with the thing for free? Because then that, okay, sure. Like, I sunk in the Batcave. And hearing them say, like, no, this is like there's going to be a narrative
structured
thing.
narrative, but
Like,
I mean,
okay.
so it's going to be a murder mystery where you just go around to crime scenes and figure.
I don't know. Like, I
condemn
threw the
some stuff.
Batarang a lot, and it didn't, I've thrown a lot of things in VR now, and this felt kind of bad.
Okay.
Because it was like, I was trying to like flip a Batarang up and catch it, so I was doing very light tosses. But any momentum on that thing, it just goes and spins away.
Probably by
And,
design, I'm sure.
Like, okay, yeah, that doesn't. That's kind of
You were able to switch hands with stuff too, because you're lefty.
right.
So you'd pick stuff up, and you could actually transfer it. That's something.
Yeah,
I guess.
but yeah, it just.
Doesn't seem like you're overly positive about this.
It seemed all right
Yeah,
as a demo
Like,
of
I wanna check that
hey,
out.
check it out. We're making a VR thing for the very first time,
Yeah.
and we're figuring it out too.
Yeah.
They didn't give any indication of like how much it might cost or how it would be packaged up, did they?
Not that I've seen. Maybe they've put out some materials that kind of give a little more detail on that. But yeah, this was just the two demos, and they said that there would be some connecting experience to this thing. But it just.
It's so hard to tell how all of this is going to shake
Yeah.
out. They mentioned 50 titles for PlayStation VR, and we don't know
Right.
how it's.
Yeah. But it's just using that equipment. Like the rewind, jog shuttles, detective stuff. That stuff works well enough. But everything about like grabbing, like you see your hands, and theoretically you could punch a person, and you've got the Batarang that theoretically you could throw, and you could theoretically swing or grab people or grab things, but none of that felt like it would be dynamic enough to capture, say, the combat of the Arkham games.
Oh, sure.
It's a very different thing. It's a
Right.
very, very different thing.
And that
So-
requires, there's no way you could do that in first person anyway, I think,
Yeah.
because of the situational awareness and all the
lot of
cues of like
spinning.
above the head.
Well, I mean, they could do that in just
there's
on
a
a one-on-one
modification.
setting. Like I'm
Yeah,
not saying
but
like, hey, do
surrounded by
exactly
12
those
guys.
encounters, but
Yeah,
no, you wouldn't do that. That
More,
wouldn't
more to
be-
the point, I think there's maybe some merit to the idea of a Batman game that focuses almost exclusively on the detective work. Like you
Yeah.
don't necessarily need a Batman game with a ton of fighting in it.
You're right. But by the end of that one detective sequence, I was like, okay,
Had enough.
Cool.
Yeah. Okay. Sure.
that's neat.
Probably would need some variants to flesh out an entire.
Yeah. To be fair,
alliance.
all the detective stuff in those games has been dead simple. Just kind of like
Right.
follow the cues.
And this was
just-
exactly that too. You had Batman going like, I need to look at this. Nope, that's not where the injury occurred. Nope, that's not where the injury occurred. Rewind a little bit further, like, oh, this is where his ribs got smashed up. It's just
I thought those were fun when they popped up in the Arkham games.
Yeah, 'cause
But,
they were
the thing
super
is
quick and-
yeah, it's a tiny little
Right.
thing in these bigger games, but if it's just one after another, I think I'd get pretty
if it's
tired
like
of that.
yeah. I mean, we'll have to see what other things they craft for this, but I don't know, man.
Fair
that
enough.
thing seems like they're figuring out what VR is.
Yeah.
Because everyone is, I guess, right?
Yep.
That seems like exactly what it
That
is.
does seem to be the theme.
Yeah. Injustice 2 was also there and playable.
Yeah, I'm pretty stoked for that.
Yeah.
So, I was a big fan of Injustice, man. That game's a lot of fun.
Yeah, it's neat. It's MK in a lot of ways, but it's back to block.
I
Which
really,
is just
yeah,
insane.
I really feel like a superhero playing that game, like a superhero Mortal Kombat, like, because everything's so over the top, you know. But yeah, this is totally more Injustice. This is it feels exactly like that. And we're not doing too much. else.
So like, what
That's
characters
new.
did they have that they were showing?
it was,
A handful, like 5 or 6. So Supergirl, Superman, Gorilla Grodd, that guy that starts with an
Atrocitus.
Atrocitus. There we go. Aquaman and Batman.
Gorilla
Flash?
Grodd.
Gorilla Grodd. I think
It's weird that there was no Flash because he was
Yeah,
like kind
wasn't-
of the centerpiece of that trailer.
Yeah, Flash
that's
was not
true.
playable in that
Yeah.
build,
Okay.
but you know,
Yeah, fair
Flash
enough.
was in the game. I'm sure.
Yeah, they had a huge like character select screen where you just had like shadowed out.
Right.
One looked like Conan O'Brien and shit like that. So
Yeah, they've
were having
been
fun with
using
that,
their
but-
fake silhouettes for the past couple of games at E3. So yeah, it's that was cool.
But Conan O'Brien is definitely in that game.
Yes,
Oh, yeah.
one.
Yeah.
I mean, he is a DC superhero, so of course he would be.
But yeah, it was super easy to hop into that, you know, because it feels very much like the first game.
Definitely,
But,
you know, character power, you know,
Yeah.
light, medium, heavy, like a lot of the same attacks. They're kind of changing up some stuff. Like you can, you know, you could use a little bit of meter to do enhanced versions of moves, which is kind of a thing for them. That's in
that's
here as well.
carryover.
Yeah,
Yep.
but now you can use that to do like you can meter burn a dash. You can.
that is, yeah, that's going to change the dynamic a little bit. I
Yeah,
think.
which is neat. It looked nice. You know,
Running well, yeah.
They've got some optimization to do, I think, on the frame rate and stuff like that. But obviously, the game's not out for a pretty significant
Yeah, that's
chunk
like
of time.
early
so
2017, right?
It'll probably be April. Isn't that
Yeah.
when they ship all their games?
Yeah, that
Isn't it
feel-
always
that
like
is the Netherrealm
every other April
month.
they'll put out a game.
Yep.
So
The big question that we had is how is the gear going to
Right.
you know factor in, because
Yeah.
this actually gives stat bonuses.
and after every match, and I don't know if it's going to be like this in
Yeah.
the final game, but like after every single match, we were getting like 1 or 2 pieces of loot.
Right, and it was for you know characters that we weren't using as well. So
Right,
you know
yeah.
if you just main Supergirl, you'll still get stuff for
Yeah,
the
Just a
other
bunch of
characters.
sprays.
Yeah, no.
This
This
is
is some of the
cosmetic
stuff is
stuff.
cosmetic, but it has numbers attached to it.
Oh, okay.
Like you're leveling up, you know, your character as you go, but also you're equipping things that'll have like additional speed boost. They've exposed a lot of the numbers when you're selecting a character.
And they
It'll
were
give you those
pretty
stats.
minute. It's like, okay, get a 3% damage boost when you're 1% health or something like
Right,
that.
which you know, like what are the
Some of
odds
that
that's
seems
going to turn a
trivial,
fight
but-
around? But you know, but that's you know that's all early stuff that they're
Exactly.
still working on. And you know, I think the big concern when they started talking about gear was people like this is going to completely unbalance the game, and they're like, yeah, of course.
That's
so we're going to turn it
Totally
off for
valid.
Well,
So I got a
that
different
was-
vibe. So
okay.
I think they're kind of married to that concept of gear and trying to find a way to balance that. I think they're going to try that first, and I have
Sure.
faith in that. Like you know when you know Mortal Kombat came out and they had 3 different styles. It's like how the hell are you going to balance this? And I think they did a pretty good job.
Yeah.
So I have faith, but it seems like you know they know exactly you know how daunting it would be to balance all of this stuff. But they're
Right.
going to give it a shot first. If it doesn't work out, the backup is you know turn off the numbers and
Leave the cosmetics, yeah.
Right. So
but yeah, you know, there are some cosmetic changes you make to the characters
and
as
they're
well.
significant too.
Like,
they look
you know,
really good.
I looked over and saw on another screen Superman with a hammer and sickle instead of
Yeah.
the S, and you know, like
Like what does that mean for like you know DLC costumes? Because that was so it was a big thing in the first game. You know all those
right.
different costumes.
Yeah, but if they're just dropping loot after every match and stuff like that,
Yeah.
can you form a lot of those costumes there?
It seemed
like
like
how
it.
do they what do they sell? Maybe nothing. Maybe they're just like, oh, you know, we're done with the DLC costume route. It's all in the game.
It could be.
That's
Could
probably
be.
not. That's probably not how it's going.
If there's like more significant like that, you know, hammer and sickle.
Right,
Maybe,
maybe
they charge
that's
for
the
that
stuff
or
that
something.
they sell is like the pure cosmetic stuff like that.
But
Hard to know.
I'm totally ready for another Injustice. Yeah, I booted it up last night just to see how it felt, and I could totally. Get
That's
back
right.
into
You
this.
literally brought a PS4 to E3.
Hell yeah,
That's,
I did. Like yeah, I drove. I've got good internet connection, man. I've got 2 TVs. I won the hotel lottery. It's great.
There's stairs.
There's stairs. I've never had stairs in a hotel room before.
I had to move out of your room. I don't
I've
have stairs
tripped on them
anymore.
so many times, but man, it's so
You
cool.
and me
Where do the
won.
stairs go?
They go down into my den, Alex. I have
Wow.
a den.
You have a
where I
garden.
So you have 2 TVs?
I have
Wait,
2
are you in one of those
TVs.
weird
you're-
suite rooms?
I
Yeah,
think so.
I am too, but yours sounds way better than
How did
mine.
that happen?
I have a garden, a teaching garden outside.
You just go smoke there.
Yeah, I just got smoked.
I have 2 double beds and it sucks.
Sorry.
Yeah,
You
my
wanna
room
come hang out?
it gets cold. That's the best thing I can say
Yeah,
about it.
same.
Yeah. Yeah.
My room
gets
is
really cold
gigantic
in
and
my
has
den,
wood
actually.
wood floor paneling. Wood
You should get a shawl. Have them send up a shawl.
There's
for you.
robes.
Yeah, heated
Robes are
robe.
good.
This is an
Do they
injustice.
heat robes?
too.
Yeah, good stuff.
Yeah.
My shower is awful though, so it's
Yep.
kind of either.
So
or.
is mine.
Oh,
There are no good showers in that hotel.
There are no good showers in any hotel.
Oh.
Ever.
Mine's pretty.
It's always confusing whether hot or cold. Nothing's ever labeled correctly. Yeah, it's great.
Ours just aren't labeled at all. Like there's just no labeling on it.
Yeah.
You have that range of motion though. So you start off and you kind of find it, and then you split the difference, pull the trigger, and then just let it sit.
Mine comes out scalding hot in the center, which seems wrong.
Really? Oh.
Yes, that doesn't seem like that's the way that's supposed to
I
go.
would love that. I barely get any hot water. I mean, Dan, you saw some games.
I did. Mainly Resident Evil.
Yeah. we
Okay.
saw-
I
we
went
saw
into
that.
their little haunted house.
Resident Evil 7, Biohazard.
Yes.
Or did you see Biohazard 7 Resident Evil, where they're showing the
I
Japanese
was in America,
version?
so it was
Okay.
the
I saw
former.
that.
I guess on Steam they put up a page for that, and some Capcom games have like both versions of the name with a slash between them.
Oh, great.
So
Oh,
it's I
wow.
think the Steam entry says Resident Evil 7 Biohazard / Biohazard 7 Resident Evil,
Perfect.
That's
which
really good.
is the best thing. Best.
Good stuff. How's that?
So I had a lot of thoughts about that because when I saw the reveal, I thought it was either going to be really good, and like, oh, this will be the first really scary, awesome kind of, big developer, VR game. It could be awesome and rejuvenate the series, or it could be a total train wreck and be terrible for it.
It was initially exciting because it's like you can play through the entire game in VR. It's like,
Yeah.
okay, all right,
Yes.
now we got to.
Yeah, it's a full game.
There's a
A real
parallel
ass game.
there.
Yeah, a big full game, not a tech demo or anything. But I wound up being kind of in the middle, leaning towards negative. I was really underwhelmed by it. And the thing I kept thinking of was when I first started doing VR, when it was just tech demos and stuff and the old dev kits and stuff. Remember when Dread Halls was just a demo? I was amazed by that because it was one of the first VR things I did. And it's like, oh, I can look up and see the ceiling. I can look down. I can put my face up to the wall and peer around corners and see creepy things. And it was amazing because I'd never done anything like that.
Right.
But now that the novelty is worn off and I've done enough VR things and everything, I just kind of found myself playing by using the analog sticks. You can move. You can turn with the right stick, look up and down, move with the left stick. And I noticed I wasn't even like naturally just kind of doing that stuff because I've seen it before.
Yeah.
So it just felt like I was playing a first-person Resident Evil with a controller with like a screen close to my face.
But tell me what a first-person Resident Evil is. Is it the same
It's-
type of combat? Is it herbs?
No,
is it
the-
typewriter ribbons? Like
in this thing, there was no combat, so this is very much a teaser. This thing is not going to be
so
in the game.
that doesn't sound like a Resident Evil game at all. That sounds like
Well-
you first-person walking around a haunted house, and then thank you for playing.
It was Resident Evil in the way that, like, oh, here's a fuse box on the wall. Like, I can't hit the switch because there's no power, and there's one missing fuse. But if I go pull this thing in the fireplace and grab a fuse and put it there, then I can. Like, it's that type of puzzle solving.
How do they tell you like what you can interact with? Is there any
There's
kind of
an
like?
X
There are
that pops up
button
on the
prompts.
screen,
Okay, yeah.
so you can walk up and the microwave has an X, and you open it, and there's like a dead bird in there.
Oh.
Yeah. I didn't really get scared at any point.
Well,
I mean,
I
there's
mean,
not like a lot of jump
It's also
scares.
really hard to, like, when you're playing something like in VR on a show floor and you've got 3 different bands playing all over. It's
Right,
It's,
yeah.
it's tough
Even
to
when you
get.
got the headphones on, it's not complete.
Yeah.
Yeah. But no combat or anything. Like it was more atmospheric stuff than like a bunch of stuff jumping out of closets and stuff. Like,
What did you actually see? Like what kind of menace did they present in that demo?
I went into a house in the middle of the woods, kind of a derelict old abandoned house. There's the typical like, oh, here's this old food with maggots in it, like that's in every Resident Evil game. Walked around for a while, found a videotape, put the videotape in the VCR. And then it's like, oh, here's this documentary of, we're finding this old haunted house or whatever. And
It was
then
just the Wesker report. Just
Yeah,
on VHS.
yeah.
Just
Blair
put it
Witch
in. It's
Project.
like, all right.
yeah. And then it becomes playable, like this old video.
Oh,
and so you're walking
kinda
around,
cool.
and it's like this crew that's like filming this show or whatever, and one guy goes missing.
So you're still looking at the TV and playing in third person?
No,
or
you're
when
looking
it
at the
becomes
TV at
playable,
first, and you're in it, and you're like the new cameraman for the show. And that's how you know that the fireplace has the hidden thing, is because the host is like, oh, what is this thing? And he pulls it, and a secret door opens.
Ah.
And then there's the big, like at the end, the guy that was with the crew and went missing, like he turns around and has bloody eyes, and then the guy punches you, and it's,
And then cut.
yeah, it's,
So the,
it
Did
was
you
not
see a
great.
zombie?
There was a guy with a beard that looked dirty, and he walked past a doorway before he punched you. I
sounds
don't
like a
know.
zombie to me.
Yeah, I don't know if he was a zombie or not.
It was Rob Zombie, actually.
Oh, really?
No, he
man.
shaved his beard.
Oh, okay.
actually.
no.
It's
That's the worst.
I don't know.
He did.
I sat in on that, and I had a different experience. So there are multiple paths, I guess. There's like 3 different
Okay.
endings,
Yeah.
as it were. So they kind of walked me through getting towards another one. But apparently you can find like a hatchet in there, I'm told. And I'm also assured that there's going to be some kind of combat.
Can you run with the hatchet?
I don't, probably.
Okay.
I hope so.
All right, good.
And also, like on the printed instructions, there was an attack button. I don't think that it actually did anything in game. But I don't know if it's going to be a shooter. I don't know if it's
Yeah.
going to be like a melee stuff. But for the most part, like I got that PT vibe with a little bit of like puzzle solving.
Yeah,
like you
did it
mentioned.
just seem like they were kind of chasing after the popularity of PT?
Absolutely.
It was much weaker, I think, than PT. Because PT was a teaser in its own right, but there was more going on there, and I thought there was more genuinely creepy things happening in PT. There was
Yeah, PT
really-
fucked with you. That's the thing. Is it was constantly fucking with you.
Yeah, whereas the fucking with you feels cheap in this. It's like, oh, I'm going around a corner and a mannequin fell down. Like, PT felt a little more psychological.
Well, I don't know. I thought the stuff in PT was kind of cheap jump scares too.
Some
They
shit
just-
was
they
like a
just-
lady
they just
bringing
did-
out
They just
and-
did
It was
them
effective
really well.
though. Yeah.
I think it did it much better.
Yeah.
So it's. I don't know. It's not even going to be in the final game. This teaser here.
Right.
So
Right,
this is
okay,
just a prologue thing. So it's hard to say without seeing. Like, this is going to be a full-length, Resident Evil game.
This could totally change by the time. it
Yeah,
comes
so
out.
we don't even really know anything about the story, or are you
No.
playing as these characters? Is
mean,
Umbrella involved?
well, there's
Is
no
this-
mention
is
of
this-
any character
is
or
this
name.
even?
Did they say?
Is
I
this
mean,
even attached to those games? I mean, it's a numbered sequel, so one would expect.
even if this content isn't going to be in the final game, though, like they did say this is representative of what that game is.
Yeah,
right?
yeah. It's going to
Okay.
be a first-person game where you're
Okay.
walking around
Okay.
like that. Yeah.
It's weird though, because if that's the case, that January release date doesn't seem terribly likely.
Yeah, they've got to be like coming down the home stretch on that thing. Like,
Yeah, but I mean, that's a
another-
different product. Like, this is just a teaser. Who
They've got
knows how
another-
far
yeah, yeah,
along
yeah.
they are with the other one.
Yeah, and last year they showed that kitchen demo, which was, some earlier test version of this.
They've been working on this for a while.
Right.
Yeah.
And this is the demo that they released on.
Yeah,
store,
it's the same
correct?
demo.
Okay.
Yeah, yeah. Did you see it in 2D or just the VR?
I just saw it in VR, but they said if you get the game, like at any point, like let's say you're playing for a couple hours in VR and you're like, I want a break, or my girlfriend's watching or something, I can take it off and it goes on the TV.
That is
kind
kinda
of like
cool.
almost gamepad type thing.
Right.
So I'm actually fascinated by this thing. Like another thing PT had going for it was that it looked incredible,
Yeah.
And well, that's what I was gonna say. Like I don't want to descend into like boring graphics chat here, but like this is the first like big AAA game where they're saying, hey, it's playable either way.
Right.
But you have to make so many sacrifices to make it run smoothly in VR that like what does that then do to the 2D game? Like do they have like a way better graphics mode for if you're not using VR?
I actually
Or-
I ran into Andy McNamara and he had played both ways, and
Yeah.
he actually said it looked way better in VR.
Huh.
That's
Yeah.
I don't know what that is.
Yeah.
In VR,
I
this
wanna
guy's
go-
beard was really weird. It was very like flickery. Did you notice that too, Jason?
Yeah, a little bit.
It was really weird. This weird
was
shine
strange.
and flicker and like I don't know. If
I
it
think
was just some-
anything when you got up
Maybe
close.
it's just a bunch of weird flicker beard zombies or something.
Probably.
That was the scariest thing that I saw.
All right.
I'll say that I am
Was
way
the beard
more.
flicker?
I'm way more intrigued in what they're doing with this than if they had just gone down the route they were going with 6 and just made it more just action movie with
Yeah,
Leon
that goes,
Kennedy
that
or
goes
whatever.
without saying. Yeah, that's.
Yeah. So I mean, I'm intrigued.
Yeah.
I will play that full game when it comes out, but kind of disappointed by what I saw.
Like
So-
not the strongest first impression for whatever that
no,
thing is.
Right.
but also I don't know how indicative. Like it's a full game that's going to come out, and
Right.
it might be different. It's
Well, you would
definitely
hope.
gonna be
You would
different than
hope
this.
it
Yeah.
would be indicative. I mean, if you're making that your demo,
Right.
that's supposed to be your target.
But
Even
I
if it's
mean-
not exactly the content that's going to be in the game,
Yeah,
you're trying
yeah.
to present what your vision of that game is going to be. And if that's not hitting you right, like obviously there's time for them to make adjustments, but like it's not encouraging.
But you have to imagine, the final game will have guns and things like that. So
Well, I don't know. That's the thing.
yeah,
I'm not certain that's necessarily true.
it's not guaranteed, but I would guess you could
All right.
you can pull up an inventory with Triangle, and there's this bunch of slots and stuff that you can put stuff in, and I bet you're going to get grenades and guns and stuff.
Just herbs. Just herbs.
Yeah,
First
herbs
person
and
VR
fuses.
grenade stuff seems weird to me for some reason. Like
that could be good.
Oh, well, I mean, no, because you won't use a move controller, so you won't actually do
Oh, right,
that.
it's gonna be a
So,
controller thing.
Yeah, but we'll see.
Yeah, I don't know. Kind of bummed about it, but also not
We'll see.
totally turned off the idea of playing the full one when it comes out.
I don't want to say I'm bummed. I have more questions, I guess.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hey, the big news. I walked by the 2K booth, and they're painting the roster reveals for WWE.
Yeah.
John Cena's in the game.
Yes. Yes. Fuck yes. That guy, man.
Guys, I gotta
Finally.
go pre-order. I'm sorry.
Confirmed.
Finally.
Let's wrap this up.
Oh, Goldberg meets John Cena.
Finally, we haven't seen that since WWE 2K14.
The dream matchup.
Man.
Man,
Goldberg is
that's
still a
awesome.
thing.
No, has not
not
been
at
for
all.
years, but he has a pre-order bonus because
They always bring like legends, like it's Ultimate Warrior and Sting
Legends.
and like older guys. Yeah.
They gotta fix that game.
Yeah, so Yeah, Vinny and I walked around the show floor and got a good look at, kind of just took the lay of the land and put up some videos on our Instagram page,
Hey, nice.
which is giantbomb.com.
We have an Instagram?
Oh, yeah.
All right.
With dot spelled out. Look at it. Just type it into the.
It takes really nice photos.
Yeah, it's weird out there.
It is,
I don't know how much you guys.
Yep.
Oh, yeah,
How much time you guys
did a lot
spent
of that
around the
today.
periphery of the
It's
show
thin.
floor.
I've been everywhere.
It's
Do you
thin.
see Naughty America?
No.
That was amazing
oh
to
my-
see. On the
it's pretty
outskirts, all
ridiculous.
this experimental tech and all this stuff, and people like booths with no one there, and just these companies trying their hardest.
Yeah,
and
yeah.
then directly across from the Ace Bananas booth, which looks like a charming little game with monkeys flying planes or something.
Okay.
And no one's checking that out. There's the Naughty America booth, and at times it looked like there were over 100 people in line. I checked out a couple times and walked over there because it's amazing to see all these booths with people just trying their hardest and no one's visiting.
Yeah.
And then 100 people with Persona capes, like waiting in line to put on their Samsung Gear VR and just
Watch VR porn.
and
Yeah.
just try.
That is a vivid
Oh,
picture
okay.
you have just painted.
I went back several times just to look at the line and be like,
That is
man.
My favorite earlier when you came back talking about it was your description of the people's demeanor who were getting the demos. You know,
Oh,
it's just very, very matter of fact, just like, oh, that's some impressive technology.
Oh,
there.
very
yeah, 'cause it's
analytical,
like
yes.
they're probably
Oh,
they probably do other things when they're watching porn usually, and they had to just stand there and be like, oh yes, a very impressive hardware.
no,
Yeah,
that's
Oh, you mean like
exactly
doing
how-
like household chores?
That's
Like,
ex-
you know, they're distracted doing other things? Is that what you're trying
yeah,
to imply?
multitasking. You know,
Yeah,
like,
yeah, all right.
yeah.
No, I think I definitely have that demeanor. Like, that's impressive. All right,
All right, yeah.
No, that's
Looks very promising.
yeah, no, that's up there to the elbow. That's really great stuff. And yeah, there was just a lot of weird stuff. So there's this Into the Pixel art exhibit, which has been at E3 for years and years
sure.
and
Yeah, that
years,
thing's
and
cool.
there's awesome stuff. Like
Yeah.
they had this year that I saw they had some stuff from years past up there as well. And they had like the box art for SVC Chaos up there, big printout of it. And I was like, man, that's great.
that art is
Anyway, that was in the concourse hall,
Yeah.
kind of out separate from all this other stuff. Now it's like it's on the show floor.
Oh, it's on the floor?
because they had space for it.
Yep.
Oh, wow.
There's a lot of stuff. There's a lot of empty space
Wow.
on the show floor.
Yeah.
It's it really shows. It really shows.
Yeah, so like the hall with Microsoft, Nintendo, and Sony, like that feels mostly the same. There's some spaces there weren't before, but that mostly feels like the same deal.
But even there, the walkways are
Yeah.
wider. Like
Yeah.
there's less
Definitely.
floor space
Yeah.
taken up.
but that other hall, man, holy hell.
Yeah, definitely kind of strange out there. And then there's the whole E3 Live over to the public thing, which we there's some video that we shot that I think we're gonna put up. It might take a little time to get that up, but
It was an experience.
it was an experience.
They tried to physically wrangle me and bring me inside as I was just walking by. They needed.
They
They
just like
needed
hit you with a
bodies in there.
lasso, try and
Pretty
pull
much,
you in.
Pretty much.
You like games? You like retro games? We got cool retro games. You
Hey,
want
do you like video games?
So,
Let me tell you about the retro
You
games.
mean the Doritos thing?
Yeah,
then?
the Doritos thing.
Oh, that's a different thing.
Oh,
That's,
that's
right next to
different?
E3
Oh.
Live. Hey, do you like Arkanoid?
Yeah, I heard it. Yeah.
What if instead of a little paddle, it was a like curled up Dorito chip?
Fuck no.
Hey, do you
Really?
like Space Invaders?
God, yeah. Who
What if
doesn't?
instead of a ship, you were a little Dorito chip?
Shit, that works.
You
That
should
works
go there
for me.
tomorrow.
That works
Yeah,
for me.
it's a triangle.
Okay.
Well, let's come out the top.
I like chips.
They have those there as
They have
well.
a lot. They got walking
Oh,
tacos.
believe me, they have a lot of those.
They got walkie-talkies.
They got walking tacos.
Yeah, they have walkie-talkies to kind of tell you like what to.
So this is where things are at.
Yeah, and you know the show is definitely changing. The show
Yeah.
is definitely changing.
It's a different vibe
and,
this year,
and
for
we'll see
sure.
how it goes from here on out. But this feels like the first step in them trying to figure it out. And you know they'll get there probably, but it's just seems really crazy.
They just need more VR porn, I guess.
But yeah,
Every other booth.
they just turn this
they
into
will pack that
VSDA
place.
and just make it a porn show.
It's so interesting doing the outskirts like now that, you know, my first one was 10 years ago, and 2006, the Wii was the big thing.
Right.
And so for those first couple years I went, all the outskirts were just all these little companies trying to do like, we got a tennis racket attachment.
Yeah.
Oh, we got this thing here. Or like, we made our own motion thing with like a shitty motion controller.
right.
And that was everything in like Kensha Hall or on the outskirts or whatever. And now it's that, but with weird like VR, like weird attachments and accessories
disc
and
you can
tech.
stand
stuff
on.
Dan was
Yeah,
talking
that's
about
what
last night, yeah.
Yeah,
was
glove
talking
you wear
about.
with sensors and
Yeah.
yeah, it's totally that.
Yeah, well, you know, it's.
But now it's on the main floor
it's
because
an exciting time. Yeah, and there is no Kensha Hall, and they don't need
Yeah.
one because
Yep.
there's plenty of room on the existing
even the
floor.
concourse hall, not
Yeah,
so much.
we'll see.
Oh,
We'll
yeah.
see. But you know, interesting to kind of watch the show change before our very eyes.
Vinny said he heard his phone ring when he was actually on the floor.
Right. Yeah. No, I was walking around with
Yeah.
Vinny shooting those Instagram videos, and we were just having normal volume conversations as we were walking around, going, "Hey, what's up, man?"
I called Vinny when we were both in the middle of the Sony booth yesterday, and not only did we both get enough reception to make and receive a phone call,
Yeah.
but he could hear it ring. He picked it up, and we talked.
Yeah.
So obviously, best E3 ever.
You know,
It's not bad.
That's
I'm
the
not-
thing is like like the quality of the show is not attached to the quality of the software being shown
Right.
at the show.
Yeah.
I feel like there's a lot of really interesting games being
Yeah.
announced and shown and all this other stuff.
Yeah, especially you wander around that Sony or that Microsoft booth. Like, there's a good variety of stuff.
They got tons of games.
There
like
are a
usual.
lot of games like I feel like coming out of this show like the games seem strong. Like there's a
Yeah.
lot of stuff like we're at that point where the platforms have matured and we're seeing cool stuff and all that. But man, the show itself just seems strange.
Yeah. It's a building year.
Strange days.
So it's a transition year for
Yeah.
sure. Or
Yeah.
it's about to be.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Who knows what the show looks like next year?
Yeah, definitely. That's the talk of the show.
Yeah,
'Cause
absolutely.
everyone you talk to is like,
everybody.
so how's your show going?
Yep.
Like, ours is going fine. Like, how's yours? I was like, I don't know. I'm in this booth and I don't know why we're here. Like, okay, weird.
Yeah, we're all leaving Wednesday.
Yeah.
Yeah, there are definitely people that are bugging out.
Yeah,
for
like
sure,
other
too.
than the odd kiosk at the platform holders, like EA is done with E3 now as of as of last night. Like,
Well, so but
I know,
now
I know they have
they're
Titanfall
showing
and
stuff in
like,
Microsoft's
right.
booth
So
now.
that's what I mean. There are a few kiosks, but like their
yeah.
official presence is kind of over.
Yeah. It's interesting.
Yeah.
But yeah. So games before we wrap it up here. Anyone see anything else?
I think I'm sold on
kinda
King
it
of
for
Fighters
me.
now. Like that.
Yeah?
I got some hands-on time with that finally. And
game?
it plays really
King of
well.
Fighters.
The new King of Fighters, and it's using 3D models, so
Right.
kind of like that Street Fighter 4 thing.
Yep.
And I miss the sprites for sure, but it actually plays pretty well. So
Good.
I think I'm on board now.
Good.
Nice.
All right. Yeah. I want to
Super skeptical.
I want to check
until-
that out as well. Tomorrow I'm gonna get my hands on Tekken.
Yeah,
And
I'm
see
gonna
what's
try
up with
out.
that. It looks like they've got like an MK style story mode in that thing.
Nice.
It seems,
awesome.
Seems neat.
Oh
Yeah.
God, Tekken would be the right series
Right?
for that.
Yeah.
I mean, if not, like Mortal
Like-
Kombat's the first one you
I
would
just want
but
like
then
10 hours of like Paul Phoenix riding a motorcycle and punching
Yep.
fucking bears.
Yep.
You know.
That have the best like ending movies of any fighting game series.
Yeah.
Agreed.
We're talking about getting a rowdy band tomorrow together to go crew a ship.
Sounds
And Sea of Thieves.
That sounds
Yeah.
really fun.
Yeah.
They've got like 4 versus 4 setups over there.
Oh, I want to do
All
that.
right, and I'm gonna get my hands on some Oculus Touch stuff, which I have not used in a game yet. So they're showing in some games with that stuff, and I'm seeing some other stuff tomorrow that eludes me in the brain at this moment.
God
but-
Eater. You're gonna go see God Eater, right?
Farming
God Eater
Simulator.
2.
I got that on the docket
You got
tomorrow.
that
Right. Yeah.
Okay, cool. No,
I'm not joking.
no, you can come and you can take the God Eater portion of the appointment,
I'll
and
hop
I'll
on
just
that
play
grenade.
Tekken. You don't like fighting games anyway. I know you
I play
secretly
Little
just
Tekken?
hate
I
that
mean,
stuff. You
I
can
like-
play Little Tekken Kids.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Lil Tekken.
yeah.
I'd play that.
Lil Tekken. That's
Play
my rap name.
Virtua Fighter Kids?
Yeah,
Yeah.
nothing wrong with VF Kids.
Nothing at all. That's great.
Yeah, it's totally okay. All right, well,
MK Kids.
all right.
Children
now
fighting
you're-
children.
Kid Thunder-
The Babalities grew up.
I
and-
call Kid Thunder.
Yeah.
Oh man. All right. Well, that's going to wrap it up for the editor check-in portion of our show. We are going to take a break, and we'll be back. We'll be back in a little while here. We're going to, a
little longer
when
break.
our first guest will arrive, and we will kick things off. So stay tuned. We'll be back half an hour,
Let's say ish.
half an hour, or something like that. Yeah, somewhere around there. So we'll be back. Stick around.